Every Saturday night, the UFC runs the same experiment. Two people walk into a cage. One leaves with swelling around the face. The other leaves with a microphone. And then, very often, before the coach, before the camp, before the sponsor, before the opponent, before the manager, before the rematch call-out, before the new crypto casino that paid for the shorts, the winner looks into the camera and says, "First, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ," which creates one of the strangest images in modern entertainment. A fighter has just been punched, kicked, elbowed, kneed, choked, slammed, cut open, and possibly separated from time for a few seconds. And the official explanation is Jesus. Not footwork, not wrestling, not a left hook that arrived like unpaid rent. Jesus. This is not rare enough to ignore anymore. It has become one of the rituals of the sport. Fighters win, the crowd screams, the interviewer appears, the camera moves close, and suddenly the octagon becomes a tiny church with monster logos. So tonight, we are asking the obvious question. Why is Jesus helping all the UFC fighters? And to be clear, this is not a video about mocking faith. That would be too easy, and also too boring. The interesting question is not, are these fighters lying? The interesting question is, why does this exact sentence keep appearing in this exact place? Why does a cage fight so often end like a testimony? Why does a violent entertainment product suddenly need holy language at the end? And why does Jesus seem to have such a suspiciously good record whenever someone is holding a microphone? Here is the first trick. The loser may also believe in God. The loser may also have prayed before the fight. The loser may also have a cross tattoo, a Bible verse in the bio, a grandmother who lights candles, a pastor texting encouragement, a whole spiritual support system behind him. But the loser usually does not get interviewed first. The winner gets the microphone. This is the whole magic trick. The broadcast does not prove whose prayer worked. The broadcast decides whose prayer is audible. The person with the swollen hand gets to explain destiny. The person with the swollen eye gets a stool, an ice pack, and the quiet ride back to the hotel. So when we watch the winner thank Jesus, it can feel like heaven picked a corner. But maybe heaven did not pick a corner. Maybe the production truck did. Because victory is not just an athletic result. Victory is access to narration. In sports, winners are allowed to explain what reality meant. Losers are told to learn from it. That is why thanking God after a win has a different force than thanking God after a loss. After a win, it sounds like evidence. After a loss, it sounds like coping. The same belief, filtered through a different scoreboard, becomes a different story. This is not only a UFC thing. Athletes in many sports thank God after victories. The quarterback thanks God. The sprinter thanks God. The boxer thanks God. The basketball player points upward after the shot. But the UFC makes it weird because the victory is so physical, so intimate, so visibly damaging. There is a difference between thanking God after making a three-pointer and thanking God after rearranging another person's evening with elbows. The contradiction is not hidden. It is the whole spectacle. The cage gives us the violence. The microphone gives us the meaning. And the winner gets to connect the two. A post-fight interview is not a normal interview. Nobody is calm in there. The fighter is full of adrenaline, pain, relief, oxygen debt, crowd noise, fear, pride, shock, and probably a very strong desire to find out whether that cut is as bad as it feels. Then, someone places a microphone in front of their face and asks them to summarize existence. Congratulations, you just fought another professional cage fighter on live television. Please explain your soul in 35 seconds. That is not journalism. That is ritual. The octagon becomes a confession booth. Except the priest is a commentator, the booth has a chain-link fence, and 8,000 people are yelling for a call-out. The fighter is not giving a calm theological lecture. He is trying to make the moment morally and emotionally survivable while his body is still in fight mode. This matters because combat sports are built on a strange agreement. We know it is violence. We also agree to call it skill. We know somebody is being hurt. We also agree to call it courage. We know the body is being damaged. We also agree to call it legacy. The post-fight interview is where all those agreements are repaired out loud. The winner has to become more than the person who just did the damage. He has to become humble, disciplined, grateful, chosen but not arrogant, dangerous but not cruel. The Jesus speech helps with that. It says, "I did not just enjoy hurting somebody. I am under something bigger than myself." It says, "I am not merely violent. I am guided." It says, "This was not chaos. This was purpose." And in a sport where the product is controlled violence, purpose is extremely valuable. The UFC is one of the cleanest examples of modern contradiction. It is a corporate machine selling ancient violence with high-definition cameras, medical staff, sponsors, rankings, analytics, and walkout music. It is primitive and professional at the same time. It is a blood sport with a broadcast deal. That is why the ending matters so much. After a brutal fight, the show cannot simply say, "And there you have it, one human body successfully damaged another human body. See you next week." That would be too honest. The sport needs a moral frame. It needs the handshake. It needs the hug. It needs respect between opponents. It needs the coach crying. It needs the child in the crowd. It needs the fighter thanking God. These moments do not erase the violence, but they translate it. They tell the audience that this was not just harm, it was sacrifice, it was discipline, it was a journey, it was a test. This is why faith fits so naturally into the post-fight language. Faith is already built to turn suffering into meaning. Pain becomes trial, fear becomes humility, victory becomes blessing, loss becomes lesson. The fighter did not just win a contest, he survived a test. And the more dangerous the test looks, the more powerful the testimony becomes. This is the strange beauty of it. The same sentence can be deeply sincere for the fighter and extremely useful for the broadcast. The fighter may genuinely mean it. The show also benefits from it. Sincerity and content are not enemies anymore. They are roommates. To understand why fighters reach for God, you have to remember what fighting does to identity. Most people get to fail privately. A fighter fails under lights. They get knocked out in front of strangers. They miss weight in public. They get injured at the worst possible moment. They spend months preparing for a person who is preparing to ruin them. They can train perfectly and still lose because one shin lands at the wrong time. They can be loved on Friday and forgotten by Monday. That is not just a career. That is a machine for producing uncertainty. Faith gives a fighter something the sport cannot take away. A ranking can disappear. A contract can disappear. A win streak can disappear. A chin can disappear. But a story about God, purpose, redemption, and being carried through darkness can survive the scoreboard. This is why the religious speech is not only a victory speech. It is identity armor. It protects the fighter from being reduced to the result. I am not only 12-4. I am not only ranked number 8. I am not only the guy who got knocked out last year. I am part of a larger story. And sometimes, that larger story is not a branding exercise. Sometimes, it is survival. Some fighters talk about faith after addiction, poverty, grief, trauma, depression, or feeling close to the edge. For those fighters, thanking Jesus is not a cute media line. It is the shortest possible version of a life they are still trying to live through. That deserves respect. The joke is not that fighters believe. The joke is that the UFC takes this entire human storm, pain, fear, memory, God, family, trauma, ego, sponsors, revenge, salvation, and asks it to fit between the official decision and the commercial break. Please tell us about your spiritual rebirth, but keep it tight. We have a promo package to run. The post-fight interview is one of the most important stages in the UFC. The fight proves what the body can do. The interview tells the audience who the body belongs to. This is where a fighter becomes a character. Some fighters use it to call out the next opponent. Some use it to start a feud. Some use it to sell a persona. Some thank their coaches. Some thank their country. Some thank their mother. Some thank Jesus. Some try to do all of it in the same breath and somehow end up asking Elon Musk for a car. That is the beauty and danger of the microphone. It creates a small emergency of self-definition. You have less than a minute. Millions might be watching. Your blood pressure is a religious experience. Say something that makes you real. This is why the Jesus speech appears so often in the same format. It is not only theology, it is stagecraft. It tells the audience, I am humble, I am serious, I came from somewhere, I answer to something. I am not just a fist with a haircut. And for fans who share that faith, the fighter becomes instantly legible. He is not just an athlete, he is one of us. For fans who do not share it, the speech may feel strange, funny, annoying, moving, or confusing. Either way, the clip travels. That is important. The modern post-fight speech is no longer only for the arena. It is for YouTube shorts, TikTok edits, quote cards, podcasts, reaction channels, religious pages, atheist pages, sports pages, political pages, and comment sections that should probably be monitored by a public health agency. Once the sentence leaves the fighter's mouth, it becomes material. The fighter may be sincere. The internet will still turn it into a debate. This is where the whole thing becomes very modern. A fighter can thank Jesus from the deepest part of his heart, and then the platform turns it into engagement. Because the algorithm does not care whether the speech is sacred. It cares whether people stop scrolling. Religion stops scrolling. Violence stops scrolling. Religion after violence really stops scrolling. That combination is almost too powerful for the internet to ignore. It gives everyone something to react to. Believers see courage. Skeptics see contradiction. Fans see identity. Critics see branding. The fighter's supporters see testimony. The fighter's haters see material. And the clip keeps moving. This is why the Jesus speech lives in a strange triangle: faith, commerce, and attention. The fighter may be thinking about God. The promotion may be thinking about marketable authenticity. The algorithm may be thinking about watch time. And the audience receives all three at once. That does not make the faith fake. It makes the environment strange. Modern media has a talent for turning the sincere into the strategic without asking permission. The second a fighter says Jesus on a live broadcast, the sentence belongs to everyone: the believer, the clip editor, the critic, the fan, the brand, the culture war, the comments, the title writer, and now, unfortunately, this video. The octagon microphone is not neutral. It is a conversion machine. It converts pain into narrative, narrative into identity, identity into content, content into argument, argument into views. And somewhere inside that machine is an exhausted fighter, still breathing hard, trying to say thank you. So why is Jesus helping all the UFC fighters? The honest answer is, he is not. Not all of them. Not in the simple scoreboard way the title suggests. MMA is full of Christians of many traditions: Muslims, secular fighters, spiritual fighters, superstitious fighters, and fighters whose only visible religion is making weight. This is bigger than one faith tradition. Combat sports have always been surrounded by ritual. Walkouts, prayers, hand wraps, corners, touching the mat, pointing upward, kissing necklaces, family names, national flags, last looks before the bell. When people walk toward danger, they bring meaning with them. The UFC did not invent that, it just put it under brighter lights. What the UFC did create is a perfect little theater for the winner's meaning to become public. The cage creates the crisis, the fight creates the survivor, the interview creates the testimony, and the broadcast makes it feel like destiny had a camera operator. That is the real answer. Jesus is not helping all the UFC fighters. The winner gets God because the winner gets the microphone, and the rest of us accept the ritual because we need a story after violence. We need the hug after the knockout. We need the prayer after the blood. We need the word journey after watching somebody's face get introduced to a shin. We need to believe that the pain was not just pain, that the cage was not just a cage, that the winner was not just better for 15 minutes, that something was revealed. Maybe discipline, maybe fate, maybe ego, maybe God. Maybe just the terrifying fact that humans can turn almost anything into a ceremony. So the next time a fighter thanks Jesus after a win, do not only ask whether God picked a side. Ask why the broadcast needs the winner to sound saved. Ask why violence feels cleaner when it ends as testimony. Ask why a bruised person under arena lights feels compelled to say, "I survived, therefore there must have been a reason." And then remember the loser, because somewhere off camera, he might be praying too.